And then the second part, it looks like we're going to talk about communication ideas post decision on the 24th. So Jane, why don't you give us the update on this one pager that you passed out?
Sure. So we went by, I decided to make it a one pager and not include, because our original estimate was, I think we're in the 38 million. And the direction of the board was to get closer to, actually it was 48 million, to get closer to a 20 million, $28 million option. And by doing that, if I just take and eliminate the ones that we are not going to move forward with a 20 or $28 million proposal, we can just summarize it on a one pager. So in the first column, the estimate was the originally it was 48 million, but I'm only putting in the ones that we are proposing in one of the two scenarios. And in column number 2, these estimates were updated up until today. Mark Jobin and I will be talking late this afternoon because we have some tweaking to do on a couple of his, but the ones for Alan or Gail, those were updated again yesterday with escalation and his consistency. If you remember, we already have the plans for West Runnymede. We don't have the detailed plans for South Range.
Mm-hmm.
So the contingency in his plan is a little bit higher for South Range. And then under the third column where it's estimated for 28 million, those are some of the same projects. And, you know, we either, if we don't get 28 million, some of those are not going to be in your 20 million, and then we've pushed them to the $28 million column. And what we did is we took over a 3-year span when we would work on and complete those projects. So some of them you're going to see in year 1. If we were just to look at East Derry, replacing the key system and necessary door hardware, we believe we would be able to get that done in next fiscal year. But if you look at flooring replacement, we may, if we are in the $20 million range, we're only going to do 100,000. But if we were going to do 28 million, we'd have 429,000 of replacement flooring. And so we would do that over a 3-year period, likely. And same thing when we look at some of the items where we would do it over 3 years would be door replacements, things like that. So, or repaving the parking lot, we're going to move that out 3 years. Same thing for Barca, for both scenarios, replacement of the pier doors. We're looking at those could be completed over a 3-year period, as well as the flooring replacement, depending on which scenario you go with, whether it's the 20 or 28 million dollars. Gilbert H. Hood, some of the things are tied to one another. So if you look underneath the bottom of Gilbert H. Hood, parking lot repaving, we would connect that with the additional parking lot lighting. So we would make sure we do those in the same year. Further down, one that I think requires a little explanation is South Range. On the first line is roof replacement. Apologize, I'll take that slash out of there. But roof replacement estimated by ARM consultants who have been doing the roofing consultant for the last 2 projects, which were West Rhinebrook and Gilbert H. Hood, Barca. They revised their estimates. So they're saying that it would be approximately 1.6 million now for the roof. However, if you remember, the structural needs underneath the roof needed to be upgraded in order to put in the HVAC. So since we don't have enough money to put the HVAC, but we're still going to structurally support the roof in order to eventually have HVAC. So that's why we only put in an approximate 542,000 to do that work. And
that's just the structure.
Yes, with no HVAC. So yes, so right. So that's why we did that under year 1. And I put an asterisk because I'll put on the bottom of the sheet that it does not include HVAC. It's just the works. So that was the methodology that we used on, we tried to keep like projects together so that we could go out to bid and do all of the schools that were listed. For example, the replacing of the key system, we don't need to do it at Gilbert H. Hood or Barca because those have already been done. But on the remaining schools, we would go out to bid on all of them at the same time. So looking at, I do have to do some revisions on the bottom for some of the soft costs, construction management and contingency. So these numbers will change a little bit. And again, Mark Jobin is looking over his numbers again, and I'll be talking to him this afternoon. So some of these are going to change slightly. But for the soft costs, remember those are going to include any of your architectural costs, your legal costs, your bond counsel costs. Those would all be part of what a soft cost would be.
No, Jen, it's really good. I think part of what's helpful too is when you see what you can't do in between the 20 and the 28, now you can plan on what that funding of capital reserve looks like in the future years and what you're actually funding it for. And it kind of gives you a thought of how much you actually would need based on what the projects are, right? So this is actually pretty helpful.
But I did take out, so there still are more needs, but that's another 10 million that
you that's a
was
good
in the
point.
original.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. That's a good point. Yeah.
But
Okay.
I figured to
Scratch
just
that.
condense it for people,
Yeah,
since
no, it's,
we know they're not gonna go for 48 if we're going to have two
I would create
options.
another for the board. I would put another piece sheet together showing what those needs are.
Okay, yep, we have.
Well, I think from our perspective,
We should know what
like,
they are already,
thinking
but-
long term, right? Again, I think we need to bond, get caught up on these projects.
Mhm.
Can do the rest of them in a more standard fashion where we're funding for capital reserve or budget funds. Yeah. I don't know what the timetable on something like this is. We're obviously going to have a long-term plan, 10 years out, the things that need to be done, when we hope to do that.
Yeah, this is really, these are just bond scenarios, so if the board wants to move forward with a bond option.
Yeah, I hear you.
These would be the projects that Jeremy and I went through and would recommend that into.
The only other thing I would say is if, and I don't know if it's what the board will decide, but on the 28 million, it looks like you can't, I know we talked about in the 20 million take South Range, the HVAC, right? To try to get down to 20 million. It doesn't even like we can fit in if you get a $28 million bond. Okay.
Unless you wanna,
No, I get it. Yeah, take
Eliminate
something
some.
out. No, I'm just asking why. I mean, I'm not question judging or anything. These projects make sense. I just, for some reason, I thought we could with that money. I guess I was wrong.
you mean to keep the HVAC in
The
the
28 to 30 million number, but clearly other decisions that are created for them to do that. So that's.
And you
fine.
could, I mean, if you look at West Runningbrook, you have flexibility in here prior through this committee if you want.
Sure.
You don't have to, if you want to do some HVAC, you could eliminate, flooring replacement at West Runningbrook, only do 100,000 in the $28 million scenario.
Sure. Well, we can talk more about
We
that
can do
with the full board, I think. But let's leave your recommendation within where they are. But I think that's the one question I would have. If the board wanted to go to the higher number, we should talk about that. But definitely the $20 million is not going to look up really good. All right.
So are you looking for another column?
I don't know. What do you think, Michael? Do you think the board should see what the other projects are at the same time we're looking at this, that we're missing out on?
I mean, we have that.
We do. That's true. I'm just trying to be, facilitate for Tuesday's meeting as best as possible.
We have it, I just hid.
Oh, if you get it, then I'll hide it.
So-
All right, perfect. Please do that.
It just
But
makes,
make it a separate spreadsheet though.
it just makes
Make it a separate spreadsheet. Don't keep it on the same one.
Sure.
Then it doesn't clutter the spreadsheet. At least you can kind of
So keep
delineate,
this as it is,
And then
just do the other one.
copy this
Okay.
over and then hide the
Update
rows.
numbers
Yep.
on the original.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Just because it'll just eliminate any questions. You'll see exactly what we're missing out on. The public will see that too. Like, this is what you can do for this amount of money, this is what we can't do. All right, that's perfect. This is actually, Jenny, this is really good, actually. It makes it clean and easy to read. This guy, Mr. Doubter at the end. No, I mean, this is, one pages are always good when you're gonna get all the information you need. And you can answer the questions, that people have, obviously.
And I think maybe when it gets time to voting or whenever the board, we eliminate one of the columns so
Right.
that people are seeing
This is what
exactly
it's
what
gonna
they're
be.
voting for.
Right.
Well, I think the ultimate goal is to narrow this down on Tuesday. As a good vote, so
Yeah.
that's the ultimate goal, so I hear what you're saying, yeah, so this is great, I don't know if
Wouldn't you get rid of 2 columns because you don't necessarily need the first
Right, yes, you just show,
just like one column of it's
Right.
being shown everything.
I mean, I'll have more questions on Tuesday, I'll look at this in more detail, with projects and shows, but compared to what we are leaving off, but this is. If you have more questions.
Yeah, I mean, my one thing just always comes back to what is our long-term strategy for the South Range building?
Yeah, that's a discussion for Tuesday.
Yeah, that's
course.
something that we need to take into consideration with how much money, we're gonna put into that building. In the interim, are we expecting that structure on that site to be there for?
But I'm asking you a question, do you allocate money here or do you try to do it in future capital reserves? I don't know.
Yeah, 'cause I mean,
I don't know the answer.
this building gets ignored quite often, but I mean, this is one of the worst buildings that the district has. So,
Along with the other piece that gets ignored is the whole warehouse area. Which, sooner or later, we had the tree, this past year, which took out a whole hunk of that, but,
and this is a, piece of property where that if you did move the SAU to Derryville, that you could sell this property.
right. And Bev keeps talking about these guys next door are up to 50%. They went from 20, they're up to 50% now, so that means maybe it's moving a little bit closer to finally, when we see the 75% off, then maybe we'll be ready to start moving stuff. But I would think that
You talk about the guy next door.
because Bev really believes that we will get more money for this place.
Yeah.
If that place is also.
Well, I guess what I'd say to that is, think about it over the next couple of days.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be a built out plan, but think
Yeah.
about it and, the question will be, do we allocate money here or do we start allocating it?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Think
good.
about that.
Yeah.
Cause,
That's a good
I don't know the answer to that either.
Right.
I haven't really thought about it that great detail, but think about it and let's talk about it on Tuesday.
Okay.
Cause that needs to be a discussion, I think, because, nothing you haven't thought about it. We have
No,
talked about it. We never
no.
really kind of
Yep.
talked about it in public with the board, the full board.
And it's really just an idea at this
Right.
point, and we don't have any idea.
Yeah, so I would lean towards
Costs
more,
or-
I would lean towards more funding over the capital reserve, but let's at least throw it out there.
Right.
And talk about it, because it's definitely something that needs to be, thought about, I guess. Not, I guess.
And like Jane's saying, whether or not you decide for this one, maybe we take some of the flooring and a few of these things out so that we can do a South Range, actually do the HVAC along with the structural.
Well, that's a good question, because Shannon, you talk about doing, can you do portions of can you do new portions of the HVAC? Or does it have to be done all at one slot? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, you can do it with it at that time.
Also, it's separate
It's all separate.
roof units and
Yeah.
stuff? Okay. Gotcha.
It's talking about mobilization, it includes there.
Yeah, you want to do it all at once, right?
Yeah.
Exactly, be more cost effective.
One-stop shop.
Right.
And when they originally presented the project, they had all the units that
Right.
were gonna be replaced.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough one.
I mean, some of them were original, 1966 original.
Well, I guess the thing is too, when we talk on Tuesday, these numbers aren't hard and fast. We can go up and down based on
Yep.
what people feel. It's not like we have to stick to those two numbers. you know, if it's 22 instead of 20 and we go that road, I mean, it's flexible. So we can do that. But I guess what I would suggest is when you send it out, have people think about those kind of things. Maybe send this out separate to the board. Outside the packet, obviously put it online, but so, and write up a description of what we're talking about now, how we should approach this on Tuesday, based on what we talked about. Because this isn't an all or nothing thing. We can mix and match what we feel and have discussions on it. Because if people want to put the HVAC in South Range, we can make it happen, but you just got to figure out what people's thresholds are. Not you, meetings at the meeting, we got to discuss what people's thresholds are. I'll be honest with you, like, if we're gonna do South Range, those 3 projects seem to be critical, right? To keep it going for the next 10, 15 years. I struggle leaving HVAC out because the HVAC goes, then we're starting to put repairs into it, and then we're paying. It's gonna cost more.
Some of those units, decades faster.
So I guess it's incumbent on the board members to come to the meeting with, all right, I really want this project done, but we could probably reduce flooring a little bit more and do on your plan that you've been on for flooring for the last several years, right? What you guys been doing.
Or, I mean,
What you doing?
or we could, say,
Yeah.
on 22 million.
That's my
instead of
point.
20. It doesn't have to be 20.
Exactly.
28.
Exactly. And that's the discussion we'll have, I guess.
And it might be helpful having that discussion because people might understand, yeah, everybody else is getting it. It makes sense to add 2 more to get HVAC at South Range.
Right. Because I'll be honest, funding capital reserve for HVAC will be difficult because you're not going to be able to put $1 million a year in a capital reserve fund right at the beginning. So when you're funding a capital reserve, you're probably looking at projects that are more manageable in price and in scope in the beginning, anyways, until you build that number up. I bet you as we build the number up, it's going to come back down. You're going to need it. It's never going to be this astronomical number, but it'll be there when we need it. Because, you know, unfortunately, as you go through this process, decisions are going to be made for us because things will break or need to be brought forward. So it's not going to be this cookie cutter, whatever we all know, right? It's going to be up and down based on what breaks and what doesn't break and what's on schedule and what's not scheduled and all that good stuff. There's going to be stuff not on this list that's going to break that you need. So it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the Honeywell presentation on the HVAC. Like, there's one ventilation unit that serves the cafeteria that was installed in 1966.
It's the original unit.
Good for them. Made it last, huh?
It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure I got repaired 12 times.
Yeah.
I will say it's unfortunate, you know, the years that you wait, things just get more and more money than you could have spent last year. Right, unfortunately, that's just unfortunate.
Well, I mean, it's all much more expensive than a lot of the
Sure.
things got done 20 years ago.
Very true. I don't know, is there anything else we need to, I don't know if we can schedule us. Go ahead.
The municipal bond bank, if you want to know what the rates are, they're
Yes.
3.46%.
For 15.
And I only did 15-year scenarios.
Yeah.
So for a,
That wouldn't be worth it.
I did 20 and 28. So for 28, you're in the 50 cent range for a couple of years, and then it escalates down to 40. So
That's on 28 million,
yes.
50 cents. per
So
square.
year one, it goes 64, 58, 56, 55, 54, 52. It escalates down.
Okay,
And for the 20-year,
20 million.
you're still at 3.46%.
Yeah.
And for 20 million, you start at 45.
Yeah.
And you escalate down to 29.
45%. Okay. So, and I know mortgage rates don't correlate to bond rates, but the Fed is dropping the rate. So probably like 0.5%.
Yeah. And the rates
That should
will
hopefully-
change when we go out to bid.
What's that?
The rates
Yeah.
will change.
What I'm saying is if you don't bond this till, if it passes, we bond it next July, the rate could be down more because the interest the Feds are cutting it pretty drastically. 0.5% is pretty big cut.
How come the rate is the same for 15 and 20? Is that normal?
wouldn't
Oh, I
think
didn't
so.
do it.
Yeah.
I didn't do.
No, she 20 million,
20 and
both
28.
15 years.
15 years and 20 years?
No, she
Oh,
meant,
oh,
she
okay.
meant
Oh,
20
sorry.
million.
20
Yeah,
Both of them are 15 years.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah, yeah,
I was
yeah.
going, wait a minute.
if you go to 20, you get a worse.
What was the peak of
Yeah.
Along the,
Yeah.
push it
You
off.
said the peak on the 20 was 45 cents.
The peak on the 28.64, and that was year one. And it goes from peak of 64, the next year goes down to 58, and then it just increments to the 10.
And the peak on the 20 was 45 cents. And that's also the year that we peak.
Yes,
We just offset taxes by 20 cents, didn't we? Last week meeting. I know it doesn't affect it long term, but in the short term, did we just, we offset taxes by 20 cents, $1 million? That we dropped it? Didn't we say $1 million last meeting? Is that the right number? That we get it back, offset?
right, but we.
That's 20 cents,
We
right?
estimated.
But we'd estimated two.
So we did both.
Yeah, gotcha. You're right.
But we're also getting a little bit more in CAD aid, so when I go to do the,
Okay, gotcha, that's right.
um, so that's where we are on that. But I did have some of that's also tied to this, which is the banding around West Runningford. Alan just asked again yesterday, we either can put the netting to bed if we, and maybe we, again, just look at the fencing and not, but right now he's just notifying us that he's not put the netting documents to prospective bidders yet. But the timeline is sort of running out on that, so he just wanted to know whether we should continue working on that project for netting, or do we
Let's
want
talk
to do
about Tuesday.
fencing and,
Let's finalize that soon.
It seems like at this point, when people are looking at getting it.
That's the problem, exactly.
Yeah,
It's wasted money to get the money back.
yeah, so I just want to make sure it doesn't.
No, let's talk about it Tuesday, because there's a real consideration here
Okay.
to do fencing for temporary.
Yeah, obviously, that project, you're gonna wanna, get bids before March, so that project is
Yes.
ready to go for next summer. Is that the only one that you're considering the fund for the bond next summer?
We have other projects, we could do
We
the
should do roofs.
roofing because, we believe we can do that.
Yep.
But in talking to Alan, because West already has their plans, he said it would, obviously it's more appealing to contractors, they may be able to do both projects at South and West. Or you could hold off on West, do it the next year, but West is ready to go, so he can go out to bid this winter.
Yeah.
Hopefully get a prospective bidder.
Good.
And try to, and it would be contingent. Some contractors he said won't do it if it's contingent on funding, but he said he does have contractors that will. So we just have to get that's why moving forward on Tuesday with something so he can be prepared and start getting bidding action.
I'm so very eager to really make a decision, since I think it was told me that there's only 6 meetings left until yes. So we don't have a lot of time. I mean, we have time in between, obviously, but as a group, we don't have a lot of time. Okay, I think this is I think we have a lot to discuss on Tuesday, and I think it very clear what people are looking at and choosing from. So I think we'll be I think it should be very productive. All right, so next, communication. Just right off the bat, let's unless anyone else has, I think number one, we need to kind of think long and hard about.
Mhm.
I don't know if I like the idea of being on
Well,
that.
we all sat around, just thought,
Yeah,
these were brainstorm
I know.
ideas.
We didn't want to leave anything out.
totally. Yeah, I just,
I understand
I
that,
don't,
like we said, that about that
Yeah.
meeting that you had, that you and Joe aren't gonna do next year.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, exactly. That would be the VFW meeting. That didn't provide any fruitful.
And the rules of brainstorming, there's no bad idea.
No, I agree. I agree. Some are easier than others to
Yeah,
X off.
well, quite honestly, I didn't want that one either because I had so many problems with those QR codes
Yeah, it's
last
just-
year. They're fickle.
I don't think you get the bang for it.
Yeah.
It'd be fun at all. I think that website was really good, obviously.
Well, and that's the second idea is that, you know, revamp what we had.
Yeah.
Make it, applicable to where we're moving, put a lot of pictures in there. Expand whatever we have with this and put actual pictures next to everything that's on here, you know. So, yeah. That's almost a given that that's gonna be a part of this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'll be important to have, you know, with the list of projects, as many photos,
Exactly.
videos as you get, you'll show what you need for all these things.
And then obviously show the stuff that has been done. Yeah, that's. Virtual tours, that sounds great. I mean, people can do it online. That's
Well,
perfect.
and that'll save him from having to stop what he's doing and give a tour to people.
Exactly.
He can direct people to a video online that shows them the same thing that he's been doing in person.
The thought is we'll get a lot more people to look at that.
Sure.
And actually sign up to go
Yeah.
in person. So the hope is that more people will see as if they're taking a tour, than would do it. And, you know, it's take a little bit of time on their part. They can go through each building and what they normally would show. And here you go, you can go on this tour.
Yeah.
Just sit at home and
I would put a lot of emphasis on the things that have been done the last few years. You
Right.
know,
Good
to
point.
Show people that, you know, things are getting done and things are getting done right.
yes,
And that, you know, this is gonna be money well spent, you know, look at what, you know.
You can just do a lot more, a lot quicker. with this.
Number 4 is tough. Let's talk about that for a minute because it's not tough. It's a good idea, I should say. It's a very good idea. It's. I think the question there is, do we get people to show up to those things?
Well, the logic was is that people are invested in the building that their kids go to.
Yeah.
And I wanted to highlight, you know, let's say, for instance, it's a, you know, Grinnell building. You want to know where's this money going to go to help Grinnell? You know,
Yeah, it's a good point. You're giving it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that was a big, you know, question from a lot of people last year. The bonds was this directly impact the school that my kid goes to.
that was the thought. Yeah.
Okay. Sound good.
And well, and I think you get more people to come to at that for that school if they knew that we're going to talk about Grinnell and how this money, how this fund is going to impact Grinnell.
And we gotta figure out a way to penetrate the preschoolers in this town.
The what?
Just
I'm sorry.
preschoolers,
Oh,
like the Goddards and.
Yep.
I don't know other places.
You know, as the future,
Yeah.
Jerry students, you know, who are, the kids are gonna be coming into these schools, and a lot of these things are done.
Yeah, exactly. We'll figure that out. I mean, that's probably just pick up the phone and say, hey, we got this meeting coming up at Dr. Wherever, would, not that nice, but we're at elementary school and say, hey, can we drop something off? Can you hand off to your parents and say, hey, this is gonna affect you guys, both your child and house-wise, you know, so. I actually like number 5 a lot. But that was a lot of work, right? Do you feel like you got a good bang for the buck out of that? I thought
No,
so.
I think it's pretty easy to
Yeah,
fix.
was it?
I mean, we watched it. Did we watch it, you and I together, or did I just watch it? I can't remember.
I don't think they was.
We pulled it up and really much of the information is still really accurate.
Yeah.
There's pictures from a lot of the projects.
Mhm.
There's a short explanation of, you know, this is not meant to be derogatory in any way, because before I worked in public education, I didn't necessarily know what a bond was or what capital improvement, like that stuff's not normal language that people know. So I think making sure people understand kind of what we mean by bonding out the project and things like that. So yeah, I think it would be very easy, honestly, to update this video because it does have some inaccurate numbers.
Sure.
But we could
All the changes.
tailor it to whatever you all decide.
No, yeah, I got you. Numbers changed.
and if there is something specific that we want as normal,
Yeah.
if something comes up, oh, we didn't hit this.
Mhm.
Because I think, again, having people be on, getting them to go to the website.
Yeah.
Or care to go to the website. But if we, so that's another piece of, the whole dedicated website section.
Yeah.
Well, no, his video, we would certainly post on social media, which
Yep.
is a lot easier.
Yeah.
Than shoving it down the throat.
I think we could do the same thing with the videos tours that Jeremy does.
Yep.
We could push those out on social media. I don't know if
Well, I can even push the web page out on social media
Yep.
as an advertisement, you know, please come here and see all this stuff.
Mhm.
I mean, we didn't put it down here, but it's a given that everything will go through social media. And if that means we have to open up an Instagram account too, no, really, because a lot of people have been moving to Instagram instead of X. Yeah. Formerly known as Twitter. X, yes. And
So is Instagram a better platform for some of the pictures and the videos?
totally. And that's all Instagram is videos and pictures. You have to have an image in order to post it. It
Do
won't take it
parents-
just a text.
And I'm not on Instagram. My kids are, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah. There they are. Is Instagram more geared towards kids or the parents on there too?
It's not geared toward it. It's that there's been a migration. The kids have moved away from Facebook. Facebook is for old people.
Gotcha.
It really is. Instagram, Snapchat.
Yeah.
Those things that post pictures, what's the one for China that?
TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok. Those
That one
things
I do
with
like.
videos, little reels.
Yeah.
You know, that's actually what we need, some reels. You know, those are
Right.
those little 15-second videos that just boom, boom. Well, you know about TikTok and how.
Actually, that's the one thing I do.
Are you suggesting that we use TikTok as well?
No.
Thank you.
I'm not opposed to it. I'm just not suggesting it.
So we can talk more about that in
Yeah.
future meetings. But
Journey's all over the top.
yeah. Number 6 is interesting. I think that's actually a nice touch.
You did that. I need some kids input on how to make it work. Yeah. I'm an old guy. I'm a Facebook man. It's
I just
Oh,
got
a lot of
TikTok
it
to
is-
scroll, just kind of read stuff. It's actually not bad. It's comical sometimes. It's not a lot of, there's a lot of information that isn't factual, but
yeah.
But I mean, a lot of this would just be cross posting.
Yes,
it
is. It really is. And
It's not like you have to do your saying.
yeah.
Well, and I think if we did do an Instagram, between Instagram and Facebook and X, we're gonna hit the biggest demographic of taxpayers. If we went with TikTok and Snapchat, so you're looking at kids.
Exactly. No, I agree.
Yeah, I think like high schools and stuff too, TikTok and stuff like that, because they're trying to reach their students.
Right.
Yeah.
But, you know, like in terms of the audience for this,
Yeah, exactly. Number 6 is interesting. I like that one.
Well, one of my thoughts was humanizing. We have a really bad habit of, well, I know people, because it affects me so much, we want to say the bus company. You know, instead of this is Chandra and Lisa and Cheryl that are down there working and human, we want to say the school board instead of saying it's David and Brendan and Michael, or the administration or something like that. We always want to box people into a label like that and forget that these are real people, right? So you all have kids at school. This affects you directly, and I've heard you say it from the school board
Kids or grandkids.
or grandkids. Yeah, you have vested interests in this.
Right.
You are one of the community, just like the other taxpayers. So having a video that shows that, you know, this is my kid, this is his school, this is what needs to be done.
Yeah, I like it. We should definitely. 7 is interesting because I think we talked about it. I don't know. I forget what I know obviously we didn't do it, but I forget what the discussion was around it.
Could we flip and do 8 first?
Yes.
Because 7 is almost dependent on 8, because we can't really produce the science as a district.
Right. Good point.
But if we had a citizens group made up of parents and other vested citizens that were interested in this, they could be a pack, you know, for lack of a better
See
term,
what you're doing? Yeah.
they could be a
Oh,
pack
like a PTA.
or something. They're an external group that could fund the creation of science.
Which is not gross.
What?
Which is not gross.
Or just not, or whatever. But
Yeah,
it-
just word.
And or.
Yeah, word of mouth. Exactly.
need a
The
group
easiest
of-
part.
people who are not employed by the district to take ownership of this project, because really, in the outcome, it's their project.
Right.
I mean, what Austin and I don't even live in this community. It's not really our project, and we'll be gone long after these benefits are here. But the people who are in this community are the ones that are going to benefit from it.
I think that that's a no-brainer as well, you know, like, I mean, it was difficult to accomplish last year, right? Just there's so many other things going on, and people were divided on various things. It was hard to get anybody to come together on one thing. You know, whereas this year it's gonna be one thing, and I think this is one thing that everybody can get behind.
Yeah, I have some ideas on the grade. So we can
Well, I
talk
know-
later on it.
Jason's wife started something last year.
Yeah, but I think, yeah, I'm thinking more of a grassroots kind of thing.
Exactly.
I mean, I haven't put it all, in my head, I haven't put it all together but I'm gonna think about it and I'll give you guys some ideas.
Good.
When I get to that point.
But then number 7 would come out of
Yeah,
number 8.
yeah, okay. I hear that. I hear that. Yeah, let me,
I mean, that's something you see a lot in other communities, you know. Yard sign.
You could say paid for by
yeah.
dairy parents, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think, I like that. I think the more bang you buck is door knocking and word of mouth, like I said, and we'll figure it. I guess my dears, let me think about that a little bit further.
Yeah, yes on threes, I think.
Oh,
Right?
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, we're just gotta watch out for the electioneering, but obviously citizens groups can do. what they
Yeah,
want.
exactly.
So those were 8 things that we came up with.
No, they,
And I added solicit non-deep preschool families.
yes.
And push the website. I sort of added that to number 2, push the website, videos, et cetera, on social media.
When does deep, I assume they only do family nights like once, a couple times a year, that kind of thing, or maybe even just once a year, at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, pretty much the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
But they have social
Events.
events like.
So let's look at that
Yeah.
too, see when the, like, what social events they have on the calendar and when we can, if
Yep.
we can just kind of educate
Absolutely.
someone from the administration. If you guys go do that for 20 minutes,
Yeah.
15 minutes,
Yep.
whatever it is. Just kind of, make them feel like, hey, they're part of the community, but figure out, you know, they're gonna, like you said, like, looks like they're gonna enjoy the benefits of it. Maybe more so.
But like you
My
said,
kids.
the non-deep preschools
Yeah.
that are out there, getting those families that might be, maybe they don't have this is their oldest child. So
Yeah.
they haven't jumped into our dairy cooperative yet.
We didn't necessarily directly talk about it or discuss, and maybe this is part of the subcommittee, but feels like getting members of the town council, the sort of legislative representatives from the community to support this project. After conversations, I know that the way easier said than done. When they come out to the deliberative session, and, I mean, that can really undermine the project. So I don't know how we do that. I don't know if it's just personal conversations.
Jason said he would take that avenue. Next meeting, the future.
Yeah, the committee, and I mean, we also, I think, all have personal relationships with at least some of the town and the state representatives. And I mean, you know, I know some of them are not gonna be receptive to anything.
Right.
But, you know, there are some that,
Well,
I mean, there are some that have come to our meetings and said, I support this, just not this big a number.
Right, right.
And getting
Right.
those people to agree that, hey, yeah, this is a reason to.
yeah, Jason volunteered to kind of steer that with the meetings. Or I assume during the meetings or whatever, however he decides to do it, I didn't really ask him, but
I mean, that's what those
Yeah,
meetings are
exactly.
actually for, right? Coordinating the
yeah,
different branches of government in town toward a common goal.
right. So we'll see how, yeah, like I said, he committed and for that will. I mean, based on the last meeting, they tentatively weren't upset about the idea of 25 million. I'm not saying they all were thrilled about it, but they weren't throwing up on it. So
Well, one of the things that I heard in multiple meetings was the 3-tribe system was something that several of them. Right.
definitely.
I think
We
it was
don't need to do
also
more
very
trees.
confusing
Yep.
for
Yes.
people that.
Really not.
Just the
But
word.
yeah, I know it's not confusing if like you're in these rooms, you're hearing it all
No.
the time, but
If you buy a house or you buy reals, I might go there, but yeah.
you're giving
Yeah.
people a lot of credit.
But maybe the momentum is, look, we listen. You guys came out
Yep.
saying like this.
I think the lower number.
Yeah, the 22 million, you don't have to do that anymore, right? Especially, you know, with tax rates maybe 45 cents at the high point. Well, 22 below cents, but yes, point. I mean, There's a lot of work getting done for 45 cents in tax rate.
I think we'll probably end up landing somewhere between 20 and 20.
Probably.
Yep.
Yeah, I would.
Like, I think we would like to do all the HVAC at South Range. If we're gonna do part of it.
Thank you.
Privacy.
I think this morning we made that, at least this group has made that decision that, listen, we're gonna fix the buildings. End of discussion. Don't worry about a new building. Don't worry about the fact we've got to get the buildings that we have upgraded so that 10, 15, we get that kind of number of years out of them. And yes, if it's a 20-year roof, we might not get 20 years out of every single roof because if something happens down the road.
I think too, I mean, last year, like obviously, even though everything failed, I think it did serve to bring the problem to a lot of people's attention.
Agreed.
We're not aware of what's going on. And
Right.
now, that we can focus on this one thing this year, I think there are a lot of people whose eyes are open now
Mhm.
to what's going on.
It's expensive. It's an expensive lesson. Though.
Yeah.
A several $1 million lesson that
Yeah, it is.
unfortunately. I just want to
Democracy-
throw it out there. I just want to throw it out there. But so I mean, I bet you this number get better based on the interest rate. If the interest rates go down next year, we'll see. But I don't know how much.
Good.
That'd be a good question. Next time, actually, next time you're on the phone, don't. Next time you're on the phone, ask her when the Fed drops the rate. Do we see today? Actually, well, just in general, yeah, and it's today actually, yeah. I'd be curious to know the answer to that actually, because when mortgage rates were in the 3s, bond rates had to be in the 2s. I would have thought. So I would assume it does go down as a result of changes.
The mortgage rates have been down last year. Six,
Yeah.
so just still seems like a lot from
I
whatever
know,
before.
I know, right?
And I think that the construction management costs probably gonna go down as well too.
Yeah.
Okay. The percentage is based on the accumulation of projects,
Yeah.
so we may be able to drop.
Perfect.
But the numbers in the bottom are definitely gonna change.
As they should based on conversations. That's, we need to, I mean, when this does all come to fruition and we're ready to do our thing and people are discussing it, we need to really have a very, very, very good explanation on those bottom costs of why they are the way they are. Just so we can answer those questions when they come in a way that people understand.
And that's why, like, if they significantly go down, I would add the HVAC back.
Do you want, I know you want this, do you want an update of this as well at the, or do you just want?
I would say,
focus
unless
for
Michael
now?
disagrees, I would say, let's just stick to one thing at a time.
It's gonna be plenty of
Yeah.
talk for that.
We can probably hold off on this for now. Do a little
Right.
We're gone.
Okay, perfect.
Let's just focus our priorities on this one sheet and
Makes sense?
yeah. In our next facilities meeting, we can hash out a more detailed plan then present it to the board.
Perfect.
But these are good, it was a good discussion today. I think it's
Yeah.
just, I don't think we're ready to,
I think for communication, once we know what we're going for.
It'll be
then
helpful.
We can,
Yeah, it's never good to communicate when you don't know what you're talking about, right?
so, no, I thought James was a very productive meeting. Thank you. Jan and Jeremy, thank you for putting this all together. Can't get any easier than a one page look side by side. Any meeting, it's always a good thing, right? Less clutter, directly to the point. I think this is really good. And you'll add the bond, maybe do you create a section for the bond numbers that you just talked about? Before you send it out? Sure. As I like to, down the bottom here, just add a section here for that.
Yeah, did you want me to put the documents that they sent? Do you want the actual,
Sure. Yeah, might as well.
or,
Yeah, but still add to this one page, but you can send the documents too, so people will see it over the 20 and 15 years.
Yeah.
But definitely add a summary on this front page, just so people can see it. If that's pretty, I mean, 45 cents, I mean, not, It's a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but it's,
Like you said, there's a lot getting
you're
done.
locking done.
Or
Exactly.
I can actually just make a chart too, goes on that, just like I did last year.
And then obviously year one is interest only, so year one is, you know, it's not as high of a hit. Then you go to the.
It's always year two, right?
It's year two starts the innovation. Oh, I did have one question, Jan, I'm sorry. And I mean, I'll bring it up on Tuesday, but was there a reason why you took out the windows that could? It seems like something that we want to. I just want to hear, is he had a specific thought process behind that?
They're under the $28 million.
Yeah, I'm talking 20 million. Is that just to get the number down? That's something we could wait on? Okay, got it. No, that's fine. Just one other thing. I think, and obviously people can disagree with me. I think anything that has to do with this building envelope, facade, whatever, windows, I think we should try to really include that. So we can talk about that Tuesday.
I mean, all those kinds of things that minor impacts and use. Time control of buildings, right?
We'll talk more. That's something that just jumped out, but everything else, actually. Okay, cool. Any other questions, guys?
Since this is a facilities meeting, Jeremy, was up a little last night. Why don't you just give a quick little summary of what happened with the water break or whatever it was at East Derry?
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened with it, but we went out, last night, probably around 4:30, maybe 5 o'clock. So we had no water at East Derry.
There's a water main break.
In town or at the property?
I'm kind of checking this out. Yeah, those.
Okay,
But it was back on when I got it this morning.
okay.
And there's a lot of lack of sleep and effort that goes into that being on in the morning. And Penachuk seems like they got right on it and took care of it and so forth. So
Yep, we were here early to check on the building and the water at 4:30. So
we dodged it in this time, which is great.
Okay. All right. We're good. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, everybody.